On to the second segment, a little bit of pubblicità. Applying for dual citizenship? Need documents translated? Istituto Mondo Italiano provides certified translation and interpretation services in 20 different languages. Be sure to visit us at www.istitutomondoitaliano.org. So here we are. And this past weekend, I went to a wedding, and I think it was maybe my first wedding here in the area. And everything was beautiful. And there were people that had been to many more weddings. And that one question that everyone asked was, where is the cookie table?
And it's usually the first place that the wedding guests go to before they sit down. They go straight to the cookie table. They pick up one of those little containers and they start filling it up full of cookies and start eating cookies before the reception even starts.
But you might not know about this tradition if you're not from here. So we decided to bring on air the expert, the one that knows it all, the one and only Laura Magone. Buonasera, good evening, Laura. How are you?
I am fine. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So, Laura, thank you very much for being here with us, because this is such a lovely tradition and you will tell us more about it. But I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes also to talk about your professional background, because you also, you're from Monongahela, right? That's your area.
Yes,
and
that is my hometown, Monongahela, Pennsylvania.
And you have done also a very nice documentary highlighting the area. Tell us, for anyone that is not familiar with, a little bit about Monongahela and also the strong Italian connection that also triggered my curiosity and to have you here, because it's not usually a city that a lot of people that I have met here come from. So tell us a little bit about Monongahela and the Italianness of Monongahela.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Monongahela is a river town. We are located about 26 miles from Pittsburgh, and it's a historic town that actually celebrated its 250th anniversary 3 years ago. And so in this town, you will find a lot of historic buildings, a lot of traditions. We have inventions that came out of the town. It's a very small town, population about 4,000 people. Monongahela never had industry of its own, but had... It's located in the heart of what had been the American steel industry in the Mid-Mon Valley. And so I think the most important thing about the town is the people. You know, you have wonderful people here. If you come to the town and you're trying to find some place and you ask for directions, we're going to probably end up taking you to your destination instead of just trying to explain it to you. Just great people. When you ask about the Italianness of the town, there's quite a bit of it, I would say. And we had many people who traveled from Italy to make Monongahela their home during the industrial era. In the late 19th century and the early 20th century, we have a high concentration of people from northern and southern Italy here.
That's rather intriguing, because normally you don't think of that.
We also have plenty of other ethnic groups here as well.
It's interesting. So you say there's a significant population from northern Italy. Did they come to Monongahela to work in the steel industry, or did they work in some other
It would be a
aspect?
combination of folks who came they definitely came for industry. On my maternal side, both of my grandparents are from northern Italy, and my grandfather came to work in the mines. So we had, they came for the jobs, but plenty of people came for jobs in the mills and the mines.
And the two towns that I believe you had mentioned when we were kind of exchanging information, it was about Bergamo and Brescia. And by doing a little bit of investigation, there is indeed a cities twinship or sister cities with Ono San Pietro, and delegates came to in 2017. Is that correct?
You are absolutely correct, and I was remiss in not mentioning that, but you are absolutely right. There's a strong tie with the sister city relationship. I'm not from Ono San Pietro, but my understanding is that about half of their population left that village and traveled here. So we have plenty of residents in Monongahela with roots in Ono San Pietro.
So how did you come up with the idea of the wedding cookie table and your Facebook page and the whole concept of it?
Was it a tradition that you grew up seeing?
Absolutely. I grew up with the tradition. As I had said, all four of my grandparents are Italian immigrants, and I'm very proud of that, too, from southern Italy, both in Cosenza in Calabria, and then, as you had mentioned, the two on my maternal side from Brescia and Bergamo. And so what you have in the Mid-Mon Valley, though, we have a lot of ethnic groups represented, and so I grew up with the wedding cookie table thinking that this was something that people everywhere did. And I should mention, while I did start the Facebook page in November of 2015, and I chose to focus on weddings, in our region, and when I say region, I'm referring to the region where the cookie table tradition took hold, and that would be southwestern Pennsylvania, northern West Virginia, and then also eastern Ohio from Steubenville through Youngstown. It's a region where this tradition of cookie tables took hold, and we celebrate life's events and occasions. I call it from cradle to grave with cookie tables, everything from christenings and baptisms through First Holy Communion, birthdays, everything that happens up to retirement parties and funerals. And anytime a family has a tragedy, we're going to send comfort food to them, and part of that has to do with cookies. So,
do you know the origin of it historically?
I'm sorry?
Do you know the origin of it historically? When did this concept start? Was it in the 19th century? Was it in the 20th century?
I'll tell you, it's something that I have been researching for a few years, actually, and this is something that happened organically. Now, in this day and age, cookie tables are very well planned and curated and orchestrated, right down to the last detail. But when they started, cookie tables started as an act of generosity, to a large extent with the immigrants coming from many traditions, not just the Italians. People who talk to me, think I focus on the Italians a lot, and I do, because that's my background. But you can look at many ethnic backgrounds, a lot of the Eastern Europeans, Greeks. We could go right down the list. So whenever these folks were living together in the blue-collar communities, they started celebrating life events together, and it happened naturally that people would show up with food and cookies to celebrate. In my own family, my parents were married in 1947, and they did not have a cookie table, but I will tell you that this is one of the ways that tradition started. One of their paisans showed up with a bushel of pitzel that nobody asked her to bring. But, people then started eating these cookies at the wedding, and I think that this is partly how the tradition started.
Yes, I'm from Western New York and of Italian background, and I went to many weddings, and we would have maybe a few cookies, but you would never have anything like we have here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and
amazing.
that leads me again to the community that you have created on Facebook that I'm also a shy member of, and just the artistry, but mainly the support, the recipe sharings, and the asking for advice. It really represents the idea of community. And kudos to you, Laura, for orchestrating this group, and to all the members that are there contributing, because I have learned a lot. And I think it was at the beginning of this radio program a few months ago, there was, you're also involved, your group is involved in a lot of fundraising events. And I believe this was for some senior care facilities. And I, again, shyly volunteered to bake some canestrelli, and I felt that good about that participation, because I was like, it was kind of my entrance, so to speak, my official entrance, instead of just being a post reader that I was active. And so yes, let's talk about this beautiful group that this great community, and the many events that you have call up the bakers and say, let's support this, because a cookie will always put a smile on anyone's face. So do you have some maybe campaigns that are going on right now, or some recent ones that you would like to share?
Sure. And the reason that this Facebook community gets involved is because really of the composition of the heart of a baker. Bakers are very generous people who like to do things for others. And so, as you said, Viviana, the people in the group are very willing to share advice, share recipes, and help each other out. And a few years ago, whenever we had the Tree of Life shooting in Pittsburgh, we sent cookies to the Zone 4 City of Pittsburgh police officers. And it occurred to me that whenever I would just suggest, let's look at doing something, these bakers just turned out, and they were so supportive and so generous. So what I do now is to look around to see what is happening out there that we can support. Who could use a hand right now, or a lift up, especially during this pandemic? It is so tough for people right now. So we've supported many, many good causes. One that we did recently, just on April 23rd, was the metastatic breast cancer fundraiser. That's a group of people who actually have metastatic breast cancer, and they were holding a fundraiser to raise money to do cancer research, really people who were trying to save their own lives. And they asked if we would do a cookie table at the event, and we did. I think the members of this community turned out and created something spectacular. And so every couple months we look to see what it is that we can support. Right now, I have been looking to see if there's something that we could do in Uvalde, Texas, and to see if there would be an interest in having us set up a cookie table there in the next month. And it looks like we'll be able to do that. So this one will be a little different because our members will, by and large, be shipping cookies to Texas. And we're just working on the details of that right now. But I'm selective with what I pick. But what I know is whenever I go to the membership base and say, what do you think about this? They will support the effort in a big way. We've never had an event that didn't work out for us. So sometimes happy events, sometimes sad ones.
When arranging a cookie table, if someone is inexperienced, are there some must-haves cookies that are omnipresent on a cookie table?
Yeah, they're classic. The classic one. Regardless of what cookie table I go to, what am I always going to see?
Yes, and I have actually stood with a video camera at cookie table lines interviewing people on what are their favorites. I've done surveys asking people what are their favorites, and I will share with you what some of them are. But what another thing that amazed me was that just as this cookie table phenomenon is regional for us, so are the cookies that we bake. And if you jump on a plane and fly to Florida or California or some other state and go to a bakery, you're just not going to find the cookies that we have around here. And that was something that really, really caught me off guard. But the number one cookie, every single survey that I have done, always comes back to the Lady Lock.
I was just mouthing
She
that
almost
word.
put out of her $20, and she was going to bet on that.
I was just saying Lady Locks.
See, I should have asked you that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
But you would have gotten it right from what you're saying, and I'm counting on you that you're there with each other, that you're telling me you both would have gotten that one.
I wouldn't, because she's a little more experienced. I would go for what I would love to see.
Well, I just know I've seen what people go for. They all go for the Lady Locks.
They're just kind of like, I don't want to say like cigarettes, but you know what I mean. It's just like you just put one in and and you just go for the next one.
Well, usually the Lady Locks go first. If you those are the ones that are eaten first. And there's a couple other ones too, aren't there?
About the Lady Lock, if you wanted me to say a couple of words, the Lady Lock is sometimes called a clothespin cookie. Any guesses why it's called a clothespin cookie?
I have no idea.
It was actually made by wrapping the pastry dough around a wooden clothespin.
Oh, okay.
That's how they were. The clothespin you would hang in your backyard. You used to hang your laundry on.
Yeah, the old wooden ones.
Yeah.
They were sort of rounded. I know what you're talking about. I'm old enough to remember that.
Okay. So people would season them, wrap aluminum foil around them, and then use them for baking. And they would save them just for baking. Like they didn't take them off the clothesline and then run inside and bake with them also. But then they're filled with just a wonderful cream filling. So that would be one of the top. Did you want me to share any others?
I'm going to guess a couple other ones.
Okay,
those pecan tassie things are big.
Oh, definitely. Pecan tassies, definitely.
And then the ones that have the little Hershey kiss in them. I don't know what they're called. They have the little
peanut butter blossom.
Yeah,
and
that.
They're an older cookie than what you might think. I'm working on a project now where I'm including recipes that are 50 years old or older. And that cookie has actually been around for about 50 years. So that's another popular one, yes.
And then the one that looks like a peach.
That was the one that
I don't know what that's called either. But
the peach.
Italian
peach cookie.
in Italy, absolutely.
Yeah. Although here, I don't think you have access to Alkermes, which is the liqueur that creates that peach color, so you have to resort to some food coloring. If I'm still correct on the import laws of Alkermes.
I'm going to guess the pizzelles are probably up there too.
Absolutely. That's one that will be coming out of my family's home, the pizzelle and the biscotti. Absolutely must-haves. Now, you can take the pizzelle whenever it's warm and roll it and put the same filling in there that you put in a Lady Lock, like a rolled pizzelle, and the people love those also.
And you mentioned a cookbook, and if I remember correctly, there is already a first iteration of a cookbook that you have put together. Is it still out there?
My first project will be coming out hopefully this year. The printing industry is in a bad state right now, so they're actually not fulfilling orders until the very end of the year. So, but yes, I have something that I expect to have coming out, and this one looks at the history and the heritage of the wedding cookie table and the recipes and the stories behind them.
Recently, I read something about the World Guinness record on cookie tables.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us something about this interesting accomplishment? Like, how big is the world's largest cookie table? How many cookies are on it?
That was fun. That was a fun event. We did that in Monongahela in Chess Park on August the 11th of 2019, and we brought a Guinness judge in. There was no record, so we actually set the record. We established it for the first time, and it was complicated how they decided if they would count your cookie or not, because you had to list all of the ingredients. The cookies that we had that were counted equal 88,425.
Wow. I remember it was 88. It was in the 80,000.
Yep. That was fun. That was a very fun day. We keep waiting to see who's going to challenge us, because we would love to do that all again, but so far nobody's challenged
I was
us.
going to say, can someone go, and I think you can still go and beat your own record, but you would want to see who is coming up with something as glamorous as what you and your bakers have really done. Again, kudos to all the people that I wish we had names and acknowledge. We just, it's such a vibrant community. Any other upcoming projects that you would like to share, or just tell people how to be involved in this community?
Sure. Well, I think the next event that we will have will probably be the one in Texas. We would like to do something. We're looking for underserved populations, and some of my members have approached me and said that they would like to do something for children. And so we're looking to see if anyone has an idea for a group of children that we could prepare a cookie table for. We would be glad to do so. But if anybody is interested in joining the page, last Tuesday we got our 100,000th member. And
Wow.
that was a big, that was a fun day for me.
Complimenti.
But they would just go to Facebook. Our group is called the Wedding Cookie Table Community. And even though we're a virtual group, plenty of us get together in person to talk about cookies and baking. And anybody can, go to Facebook and find us, and feel free to join.
Yes,
But
because
we've just grown naturally. I mean, it's nothing that I set out to try. I was thrilled when I hit 1,000 members. So to hit 100,000 was kind of shocking.
yes, and again, it's also the sense of support that everyone feels when being part of, whether it's other people posting pictures and getting ideas, or someone making their first attempt, asking for recommendation, or sharing their little success. So again, thank you for your wonderful moderation. And Laura, I hope to meet you in person very soon. Maybe I'll be dropping off some cookies again soon.
Well, unfortunately, our hour is almost up.
So we would like to thank you very much.
Yep.
It was my honor to be here, and I will look forward to meeting you. I saw both of you on TV today.
Oh,
I think I
yes.
saw both
Yeah,
of you. That was quite
indeed. That was
impressive. So
Pittsburgh
great
Today
job.
Live.
Great
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. So, yes, our Big Bang clock has set stop also today.
And it's time for us to say arrivederci e alla prossima. We want to thank you all for listening. If you have any questions or comments, please contact us at theitalianradiohour@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And Viviane, who are going to be our guests next week?
Well, next week, our guest will be producer and director of the highly acclaimed documentary Stracci, Silvia Gambi and Tommaso Santi. I highly encourage our listeners to actually watch this documentary, which is in English and is available on Amazon Prime, before our talk, because it will give you a full perspective of the cycle of our clothes, from production to recycling. Very, very engaging, and it was also shown at international film festivals this year.
That's fantastic. Well, I want you all to remember that if you or any of your family or friends have missed a prior episode, or if you'd like to listen to this episode again, please visit our website at www.istitutomondoitaliano.org and click on the Italian Radio Hour.
Vorremmo ringraziare le nostre ospiti, Catherine Wilson e Laura Magone, il nostro sponsor Istituto Mondo Italiano, e alla Boara per la musica. And finally, before we leave, here is our trivia question for next week. What does essere alla frutta mean? Again, what does essere alla frutta mean? You can send us your answers to the Italian Radio Hour at gmail.com, or if you see the posting on Facebook, you can always comment in there.
And if you're not in the Pittsburgh area, or you might be traveling, remember, you can catch us streaming live at khbradio.com every Thursday at 5 p.m. And be sure to like us on Instagram and Facebook at the Italian Radio Hour. Until next time, alla prossima.
Ciao, ciao.
The Italian Radio Hour has been sponsored by Istituto Mondo Italiano.